All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great session with the presidential candidate of the fictional Common Sense People's Party. Now, during the presidential election campaigns, Peter Obi made a lot of revelations, staggering revelations about the state of the nation and why very urgent interventions were necessary. One of the revelations was the nation's debt profile and how further useless and needless borrowings could totally collapse our economy. Unfortunately, Obi happens to be the only digital politician in our political class. The rest are analog. They don't believe in numbers. That was why when Obi warned them about these inauspicious numbers, TINUBU responded by saying, "No be statistics, we go chop." But every single thing Peter Obi warned this nation about is coming to pass now. He said we could not afford to get it wrong this time. He said the sharing formula must be cast aside, that it was no longer sustainable. But those warnings fell on deaf ears. They were ignored by this administration. As soon as they forced themselves in, they pulled out the sharing formula again. Senators began getting millions for holidays, billions as palliatives. House of Rep members began getting hundreds of millions for SUVs, to the point that we began borrowing to cater for frivolities. Only yesterday, TINUBU wrote to the Senate requesting for a fresh loan of $8.6 billion and 100 million euros. And those are the second and the third loans for this month of November alone. And this morning, the internet caught fire when a renowned economist re-echoed the words of the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, about the nation's debt and the percentage of our revenue that goes into debt servicing. When I watched this video, I froze. I was shocked to my bones. But before I show you that video and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly share with you this disgraceful and disappointing remark by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during TINUBU's budget presentation at the Senate today. Look at how the papers reported it. Akpabio: Nigeria spent 24 years to accomplish what took US 185 years. Now, after hearing this kind of headline from a Senate president, one would expect to hear something very meaningful. But look at what followed. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has said in just 24 years, Nigeria achieved a feat that took up to 185 years for the United States of America. In his address to the Joint National Assembly during the presentation of the 27.5 trillion budget presentation by President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday, Akpabio said, while Nigeria produced former senators as president and vice president in its 24 years as a democratic nation, America achieved that after over 1.5 centuries. In 1992, Tinubu was selected to the Senate to represent Lagos West constituency in the short-lived Third Republic, while Vice President Kashim Shettima became a senator in 2019. In the US, President John F. Kennedy and Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson found their way to the White House when the US democracy marked its 185th anniversary. While welcoming and showering encomiums on Tinubu, the Senate president said, "It is said that no matter how an eagle flies, its stallions keep pointing to the earth. Mr. President, we know no matter how high you rise in life, your heart will always point to this assembly. Mr. President, the United States of America has started democracy for about 247 years, but it was only when it marked its 185th anniversary that it succeeded in producing two former senators, John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson, as president and vice president respectively. But within 24 years of our democracy, we have achieved what took the United States of America 185 years to achieve." Now, what exactly does this man want Nigerians to celebrate here? What kind of mediocrity? Is this a joke, or is this his level of reasoning? Is this his level of mental capacity, or this is just a plain joke? And Nigerians did not take this lightly. Look at some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here says, "What's that accomplishment exactly? What kind of accomplishment is that? Under which category should we place this one?" And this tweet by Ima says, "Yeah, achievement. Tell that to the millions living in abject poverty. Military rule gave most of you guys what you are enjoying today. Wetin democracy give us or our future generations? Our mumu don't do. And this tweet by Inkheart says, in terms of corruption and forgery, you guys have outdone every nation in the world. Congratulations, clowns. Oh! And this tweet here says, it is only Akpabio who knows what he is smoking. Maybe some cheap drugs. What has Nigeria achieved as a country? My brother, help me ask them. And this tweet by Bucket says, evil spirit is disturbing this man. He seriously needs deliverance. I'm telling you, this man needs deliverance. Ever since he got into that office, he has been misbehaving. This tweet by McDonald says, the most useless Senate president Nigeria has ever produced. I think he's on his way to being that. And George here says, what foolishness is this one exhibiting now? We need a revolution. Ha ha ha. Now, let us listen to the renowned economist Paul Alaje talk about our debt profile as a nation. My people, there is trouble. Please listen attentively.
Well, I think it's important we have a robust conversation around this borrowing. And my intro has always been that borrowing could be good or bad, depending on the position of the country and what the money is spent on. First, when you talk about borrowing, we want to know on what are we spending this money. Is it on capital expenditure or recurrent expenditure? When we look at the area of what is presented to the National Assembly, especially to the Senate and the House of Representatives, we can clearly decide whether this money is going to capital project or administrative capital or recurrent expenditure. Bad enough, if you have any recurrent expenditure or administrative capital other than core capital expenditure, which will be evident in rail, in projects such as road and so many other capital expenditure, which money borrowed should be spent on. Here is the point. When we talk about borrowing and what we have done, I saw your report. I remembered I spoke with one of your correspondents about 6 months ago. You know, it's about 11 months now because that was in January. And I said by the end of this year, Nigeria would have done 70 trillion naira. My forecast was even below estimate, even though the anchor did not believe. Today, we have done over $80 billion in borrowings. What does that mean? Convert that using official exchange rate, then you will know what it means in the real sense of it. The argument has been that what is debt to GDP? For Nigeria, debt to GDP is below 40%, which is of course at a manageable level. But in economics, this is called a necessary condition. You cannot take decision on just necessary condition. You need to know what a sufficient condition says. For sufficient condition, economics are bothered about what is debt service to revenue. That is, what is the proportion of your part of your revenue that you are using to service debt. Not my word. A couple of weeks back, the incumbent minister of finance says 98%. And you need to listen to that very carefully. 98%, that is 98 out of 100. That is of every 100 naira Nigeria generates, we spend 98 naira, not to buy cars, not for capital projects, not for recurrent expenditure, but to service loans. 98%. We are left with 2% to do so many other things. And that is why I said that by 2025, I haven't read IMF staff report that says that by 2025, which are corroborated by the way, that Nigeria may need to borrow to service debt. We need to depart from patterns of borrowings. And I know that that will come from revenue and becoming more innovative and also to cut costs.
You heard him. 98% of the country's revenue goes into debt servicing. 98%, meaning we are left with only 2% to run the country. And this was confirmed by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun himself. So this one no be talk where they go say, now Labour Party people, they try to spoil the government. Wale Edun himself confirmed this. And the sad thing is, at the end of the day, Nigerians will not benefit anything from all these monies that have been loaned. And the internet has been on fire ever since this interview dropped on X. And I have to reiterate that the reason I make these videos is to play my part in educating Nigerians, helping us to see what the APC is doing to our commonwealth. This was the same path that Buhari trod. At the end of the day, the people benefited nothing. Naira took a heavy hit. The economy fell into serious recession. And now he don't go sit down for his own daura jeje. Nobody's saying anything to him again. He has destroyed the nation and he has walked away free. And now Tinubu is being true to his words. He said he was going to continue from where Buhari stopped, and that is exactly what he's doing. One thing is sure, these guys, these APC guys, will not stop. They will continue to destroy this country. They will not stop until they are stopped. The ball is in our court. Anyway, make I leave am here. Make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here. So, don't go away. Don't go away.